Hey guys, Alex here with Sports the NEMO way. We're going to drop you another emergency episode tonight where we're going to discuss the Carson Wentz to the Colts trade and maybe a little bit of Fernando Tatis Jr. mega contract. But let's get right into the trade here where Carson Wentz was traded to the Colts for a third-round pick this year and a conditional second-round pick next year that becomes a first-rounder if he plays 75% of snaps or they make the playoffs while Wentz plays 70% of the snaps. So firstly, I want to kick it over to Ray, who not only is a Colts fan, but in a conversation off-air the other day, Ray voiced that the Colts roster was probably the best in the league, and Phillip Rivers was the only thing holding them back from a Super Bowl. So with Rivers gone and Wentz in town, how do you feel now?
I feel pretty outstanding. Because from our scarecrow of a quarterback that we had before to this semi-mobile guy, I think we're going to be pretty good now.
All right. Wade, you're the other Colts fan in the room. How do you feel?
I'm pretty excited. I have a few worries. I mean, he was pretty terrible last year, and he's been hurt a few times, but he's had a lot of good moments as well. So overall, I'm pretty excited. But just a little worried, a little bit. But we have a pretty good team around him, and I think it's gonna be pretty good.
Solid. Well, Drew, as a Bears fan, as an outsider looking into the Colts and the Eagles, how did you feel when you saw the trade?
I thought it was a good move for the Colts to get quarterback size Phillip Rivers. Phillip's arm definitely failed him the last couple of years, not being able to throw as deep. But I think Carson Wentz is a good fit because he's coming back with one of his coaches when he had that great season with the Eagles back that year before he got hurt. So I think it's a good fit for the Colts.
Uncle Doug?
I like the move. When Carson Wentz came out, of course, I'm a Rams fan, and we drafted Goff. I didn't want Goff. I wanted Carson Wentz. So I've always liked him. And when he was having that tremendous year, I believe it was 2017, I'm going, yeah, we should have drafted him. So I think the Colts will be all right. He's back with like Drew said, back with the coach that he likes. And if they can keep him healthy, the Colts definitely have a much better offensive line, better running game than what the Eagles had with all the Eagles' injuries. I mean, so as long as they stay healthy, I think the Colts are going to be a contender.
I also, on the Colts side of the trade, thought it was a good move. It wasn't like you guys went balls to the wall with a bunch of first-round draft picks, which isn't Ballard's brand, so I wasn't expecting if the Colts made the trade that it would be a bunch of first-rounders or even multiple first-rounders for that matter. But I think adding a quarterback, younger quarterback with, like Ray said, some mobility, a strong arm that also knows the system because, like Drew mentioned, he's played under Frank Reich. Frank Reich was his offensive coordinator for 2 years in Philadelphia in 16 and 17. 16 being his rookie year, 17 being his almost MVP year. I think it's a good fit. I know people have, in the room have voiced the injury issues, but Carson, knock on wood, hasn't been hurt in a couple years. He had the back-to-back seasons where he was hurt. They said the injuries were linked. He tore up his knee against the Rams. It was a fluke thing. It wasn't like
when he was diving into the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, two guys hit his leg at the same time and going opposite directions. It wasn't like it was not to pick on the guy, but RG3 where it was no contact. Just went to cut and his knee blew out. And then the following year, they said he was overcompensating and hurt his back. He missed the last 4 games of the season. But since then, he hasn't been hurt. Didn't
he? I thought he got hurt last year in the playoffs.
I mean, he got knocked out of the playoff game with a concussion.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah, fucking Javion Clowney cheap shot at him.
I guess.
Bastard.
I just remember him leaving. I wasn't sure what happened.
Yeah, it was just a concussion. It wasn't like a injury like he would have missed multiple games if they had won the game. He'd have probably been able to play the following week. But yeah, concussion protocol. Not that I'm down downing concussions and saying they shouldn't miss time for concussions. I'm just saying it wasn't like he blew out his knee or pulled his hamstring or something. That being said, I do believe the Colts are primed to make a run if Wentz plays well because you guys have a good defense. You have a really good offensive line. You have a good running game. And you have some solid receivers. You don't have any superstars, Julio Jones or Hopkins or anything like that. But you guys got solid receiving core, a couple solid tight ends, and Doyle and Allie Cox.
Yep.
Is that right?
Then we got Pittman and Paris Campbell, and I think T.Y. is a free agent, so we got to figure out.
Oh,
if
I
we're
didn't
gonna sign
realize
him.
Hilton was a free agent. But
Yeah, so we got to figure out if we're going to sign him or not.
Wentz likes to throw the ball deep, so I'm sure he'll ask to bring Hilton back.
Well, yeah, because Hilton got frustrated last year because Phillip couldn't throw it down the field. So for the first 8 games, Hilton had 150 yards or something. It was really bad. He was doing nothing at all.
Yeah.
It was bad. But
And, I think you guys had the 10th ranked defense in the league last year.
yeah,
I just looked it up. And I think, Ray and I argued back and forth about this last week in a personal conversation, that it was, that Rivers held the team back. And to an extent, I agree. I'm not saying Rivers was a world beater, but if you have, if your offense picks up and plays better, maybe the defense is on the field less, and maybe your defense, sneaks top 5 or whatever. I mean, you do have a lot of talent on your defense. I think you maybe – obviously you guys are going to have the draft this year too because all you gave up was a third this year, so you're still going to have your first and second this year. So maybe you add some even more talent to that defense. You got – personally, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but – I think a big-time pass rusher would go a long ways in your defense.
well, I believe Justin Houston's also a free agent, and he's besides DeForest Buckner is our big go-get-the-quarterback guy. So
right, and I think DeForest Buckner is one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. I'm not taking anything away from him. I was more talking about outside pass rush.
Oh,
though.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Even being an Eagles fan, I love Fletcher Cox, and he wreaks havoc in the middle, or Aaron Donald for you guys. But it's always nice to have somebody come off the outside as well to keep defenses honest. And, you can't just triple team him in the middle because it's easier to double and triple team the guys that are right across the line from you in the middle of your offensive line. But when you bring a guy off the edge and make guys move out to go get him, it makes the offensive line move more, and you have a chance for mistakes.
Well, and with all the running quarterbacks, you've got to have a guy to set the edge so they can't get to the outside. You got that rush up the middle. It forces them out. If there's nobody there, guys like Lamar Jackson are 10, 15, 20 yards down the field.
Or guys that can run after those guys and actually pursue and make them I don't know if there's any defensive ends in the league that are going to run down Lamar Jackson from behind. But to make him run and make moves, it again puts pressure where other guys can make plays because that defensive end is, making him run. And, we got defensive ends running 4.4s now in the league.
Yeah, we have one of the fastest linebacking cores in the league, led by Darius Leonard.
I love Leonard, by the way.
We have 3 good young linebackers. One guy I can't pronounce his name as much as I try, and then I think is it Walker is the third one besides. I think it's Walker. Something Walker is one of the other outside linebackers. They're all young. They're all fast. Like I said, we have DeForest Buckner in the middle. We have Autry, who's pretty good, also on the D-line. But then, we just got to replace Houston. We have decent young corners. We had a rookie safety that was up for Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. We have Malik Hooker.
I like Hooker as well.
He just can't stay healthy. But when he's on the field, he's a ball hawk.
Yeah, I love his ball skills.
So I think in the draft, if we can get a decent pass rusher and maybe grab one of the decent wide receivers to add another weapon, I think we'll be pretty set.
Let me ask you this: what about the Costanzo retirement? How's that going to affect the line?
He's good, but we have a 2 or 3 guys, maybe not 2 or 3, at least 1 or 2 that are really what's the word I'm looking for, kind of utility offensive linemen that have already played multiple positions and subbed in and out and done really good. So I think we can fill the hole with one of those guys, with him being a tackle, obviously very important. But it's just, we still got to find another offensive lineman, obviously, to complete the whole line. But, we still have multiple Pro Bowl offensive linemen with Nelson and the center from Alabama. His name is escaping me at the moment.
Is it Kelly?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
I mean, anytime you have Nelson, you're off to a good start.
he is a beast.
Yeah.
So I know our last football emergency podcast was the golf Stafford trade. Was there, like, when you look at the two and compare them, or when you saw this one, was it after the other one? Was there something that surprised you or stood out to you after this trade?
How less they kind of gave up.
Well,
That was the big thing.
I mean, yeah, we didn't give up very much, but I think that's probably due to Wentz's last year. It's pretty widely documented. He struggled a lot last year. There was some off-the-field issues with coaches and players. I'm not saying it's all his fault, but the Eagles were kind of a hot mess. He's been injured a couple times, but I mean, he's really talented, so they might have been able to get a little more. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how many people were actually trying to get him, though. They even said the Bears called but didn't even make an offer.
Yeah, I
So
did hear that.
it might have literally just been the Colts.
The way I understand it is that obviously there's a bunch of teams in the league that weren't interested at all because they have really good quarterbacks already. I'm sure the Packers didn't call. I'm sure Houston didn't call. I'm sure, a bunch of teams that have, Tampa probably didn't call. I mean, a lot of teams probably didn't call for those reasons. But then they also said that Carson scared off a lot of suitors because he was like, I want to play for the Colts. And then, like, teams backed away because they're like, well, if he doesn't want to be here, how's that going to play? Is it going to cause drama? So on and so forth. And, like, personally, is just me listening to all the Eagles stuff, I don't think he cared what it did to the Eagles. Like, as far as, like, well, he felt betrayed by the Eagles, so, like, him limiting their trade return for him, he didn't really care. That's just my opinion. He's obviously never come out and said that. But he got where he wanted to go, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is like, he was like, I want to go to the Colts, and if I have to throw my weight around a little bit to get there, so be it. I didn't think it was, unless he has a big injury, next year's pick is going to be a first-round pick.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, 75% of snaps, every starter in the league does that unless they get hurt and miss a big chunk of the season.
Right, unless the Colts just have a bunch of injuries and fall flat, he'll play 75%. I'm pretty sure.
Right. So, essentially, they gave up a first and a third, which we talked in the last episode about the golf thing. They gave up a first and a third too, but then they gave up an extra first. There was another quarterback going the other direction, so it made more of a contract mess, and they gave another first to deal with that. So, I don't know. I mean, I was a little torn by it. Obviously, as an Eagles fan, I wanted a little bit more. I was really hoping we get a first this year. If the first is next year, I guess so be it. I don't even know where you guys picked this year. If we would have gotten your first-round draft pick, it can't be early, though. I mean, you guys made the playoffs.
Probably, around 20, low 20s probably?
Yeah, probably. And, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask about Carson's contract, too.
Well, this is the first year of it. It just kicks in now.
Kind of like the golf deal.
Yes. So, that being said, though, the Eagles have to pay, like, $33 million of it right now.
We got him, Ray.
It is literally the biggest dead cap hit in the history of football.
Wow.
Salary cap, what?
So over the next 4 years, this year, I think the Colts have to pay $24 million, which is pretty cheap for a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's
that's
like
a good deal.
It's like 25 next year, 25 the year after that, and then the fourth year is 26. So the biggest amount you have to pay for the next 4 years is 26. And after the first 2 years of it, you can get out of it with minimal cap disruption.
Yeah.
So even if, say, he does come out and suck like he did this year, then after the following year, you could get out of it fairly easily. But if he comes out and plays really well, paying a starting quarterback that's playing well, $25 million a year is cheap for going rate right now.
It's getting ridiculous. I mean, isn't Kirk Cousins getting paid like $30-some million?
I mean, pretty much all the quarterbacks that have come up for contract are making $30-some million.
Kirk Cousins isn't god awful, but I mean, he's not a top 5 quarterback either by any means. So.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing about Kirk Cousins' contract is it's fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like Goff and Wentz got over 100 million guaranteed, but they also have like 30 million unguaranteed. You know,
Right, yeah.
But Cousins was fully guaranteed, even though it was slightly smaller than their contracts. So we discussed the Colts side of it. I know, and I realize I'm kind of introducing myself because I'm the Eagles fan here, but I feel like we should talk
Alex.
about I feel like we should talk about the Eagles side of it a little bit. So I'm gonna jump to Drew again. From an outsider looking in, how do you think this works for the Eagles?
I think it's all right. You're probably gonna get a first round pick unless he gets hurt. So, and you have Hurts, and he looked all right, I guess, at times. So I mean, it's not like you have no quarterback in situations. So you still have, and he actually got to play a little bit last year. So it's not like he has no experience going into this year. And you got a couple picks. Yeah, you probably could have got a little bit more, but you could have got less in it too. Carson Wentz could have thrown more of his weight around and said, "Ooh, no, do all this." You could have released him like the Texans released J.J. Watt. They got nothing out of him.
Well, that's true.
So I think it's an all right trade for the Eagles side of it.
Uncle Doug?
Yeah, with the situation between Wentz and the coaches, they needed a fresh start. Hurts, we'll see, but there's I've been reading a lot of stuff about they're talking huge number of quarterbacks moving. Who's to say the Eagles are done? They may look for somebody else. I don't know. Where's the Eagles' draft pick this year?
They got 6.
6. I mean, they conceivably could draft someone. There's other guys that they could take a chance on, like Sam Darnold. And you can probably get Sam for not much.
I can't remember who it was. Somebody on ESPN reported the other day that the Jets right now would take a second for Sam Darnold straight up.
Wow.
So, you send them a second, you get Darnold to replace Wentz, you still get a first rounder next year, and all you're losing is the difference between a second and a third. It might be worth a chance just to give Hurts some competition, and it depends on what the coaches want to do.
All fair. As an Eagles fan, this situation has been infuriating to me. All season was infuriating, not just because we lost a lot. I mean, that's obvious. But there was obviously some discontent. There were some problems with the team. From the top down is what it seems. I really feel like Howie Roseman should have lost his job, and he's the only one left standing. Peterson lost his job. The entire coaching staff lost their job. Wentz is gone. Now they're saying they're just going to dismantle a lot of this. Like, they just cut Deshaun Jackson. I'm not upset about that overly much. I mean, I love Deshaun Jackson. He, was a great receiver for us for years, but he hasn't been he's been here the last 2 years and just played like 3 games. I mean, Alshon will probably be gone. Fuck Alshon, I don't care about that. But now they're saying they're right now they're working hard to trade Zach Ertz, the franchise's all-time leading receiver. I love Zach Ertz. He's been great for us. They're saying Jason Kelsey doesn't want to deal with this mess, so he's going to retire. This could turn into a giant mess. Not to mention, there's been so many veterans in our locker room that went to bat for Wentz. Jason Kelsey being one of them. Zach Ertz being one of them. But everybody always poo-poos on the Ertz-Wentz relationship. But on the other side of the ball, Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox went to bat for Carson Wentz. And Fletcher Cox, not only being a franchise great, Fletcher Cox and Carson Wentz are best friends. That's actually Carson Wentz's best friend on the team because they're both big-time hunters. They spend a lot of time hunting together and doing outdoor stuff together. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't seen anything out of either one of those guys publicly or anything. But how did this affect them? When they came out publicly and voiced their backing for Carson Wentz, we want Carson Wentz to be our quarterback, so on and so forth. Even after the Saints game when Hurts played well, Fletcher Cox came out and was like, Carson Wentz is our quarterback. And then the team essentially turned around and did what they wanted, which is their prerogative. But how do Cox and Graham feel? Two franchise cornerstones, two guys that probably deserve to retire as Eagles. Brandon Graham, we all remember the Philly special as the quarterback thing, but Brandon Graham's the one that had the strip sack to win the game on Brady. And Fletcher Cox has been one of the best defensive tackles in football for years and years. If it wasn't for Aaron Donald, we'd all be going, wow, this Fletcher Cox guy has been the best defensive tackle in football for 10 years. But, Aaron Donald obviously exists. I kind of got long-winded there. But the Eagles have confused me because these things come out that Wentz and Peterson weren't getting along and all this stuff. And then they come out and fire Peterson. So then you logically think, oh, well, they fired Peterson, so they're sticking with Wentz. And then they shipped Wentz out. And it was like, but then beat writers in Philly are like, no, they didn't make Wentz happy because Wentz's problem wasn't with Peterson, it was with Roseman. Which now we've had 4 or 5 players publicly voice frustration with Howie Roseman. We've had multiple players come out and say Howie Roseman lies to them, which obviously doesn't go over well with people. So anyway, I'm getting long-winded with the mess that is the Eagles. I guess I'm not impressed with Hurts. I don't think Hurts is the answer. Although I've never been impressed with Hurts. I thought Hurts was garbage at Alabama. There was just the best team in all of college football around him every game, and they took his garbage QB play to a championship.
And he got benched in that game.
He did for a much better quarterback, a guy that can throw the ball much better. Then he goes to Oklahoma. I'll give him credit to go to Oklahoma and learn a new system and turn around and play well. But every single person, probably me, you, and Ray, could all completes the passes at Oklahoma. The guy you're throwing to, or nobody's within 15 yards of him, and you just hit him and let him run. And the Big 12 is famous for, hey, let's all score 60 points a game because nobody plays defense.
Well, Lincoln Riley's supposed to be a genius.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Lincoln Riley schemes up great stuff. I'm not dissing Lincoln Riley at all. I'm just saying, yes, it was nice of him to go do that, but are we supposed to be impressed by that? Because every single quarterback, look what Baker Mayfield did. Baker Mayfield was breaking NCAA records at Oklahoma, and now we're all like, man, you got to baby him or he can't even play quarterback in the league.
Well, it was just you had Baker, and then you had Hurts, and then you had Kyler Murray. Lincoln Riley does a great job. How much of it is them and how much of it is Lincoln Riley?
Right.
On a positive note, Alberta, with all this crap going on with the Eagles, you all could still win your division because it's the worst division in NFL history.
I don't think we will. The Redskins are on the way up. I guess the Cowboys could play up to their talent some year.
All it takes is a couple injuries, and you guys could win 6 games to win the division.
It is the Washington Football Club. It is no longer the Arskins.
Yeah, that is true. You can't say Redskins anymore. That's a fair point, Ray. But I refuse to say Washington football team because that just sounds stupid. So I'll just call them Washington, I suppose.
Don't forget about the Giants and Daniel Jones.
The funny part is I was joking with you, but if Jalen Hurts starts, look at the division's quarterbacks. You have Daniel Jones. You don't know who's going to play for Washington.
That's true.
Alex Smith, maybe, who's a shell of himself. We don't know what's going on with the Cowboys right now with Dak Prescott. So, he might not even be the worst quarterback in the division. You really don't know.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. But at this point, do we want to win the division?
Probably not.
If we're going to hand the reins of the franchise over to Jalen Hurts and trade away all these veterans or cut these veterans like we did with Deshaun Jackson, do we want to just tank and get draft picks? Because first off, Hurts was not impressive. I thought Drew was kind about it earlier. He had the pretty impressive Saints game in his first start, which I thought it was just the Saints didn't know what to expect, and he came out and surprised them. He didn't pass overly well. He ran around and made a bunch of plays with his legs and then made a few nice passes, and we ended up winning a low-scoring game against the Saints. But then after that, he was garbage for 3 games. And even in the Cardinals game, the Cardinals had 4 turnovers, and we still couldn't beat them because Hurts kept giving them the ball back. And our defense couldn't create turnovers all season long. Anyway, what I'm saying is I don't think Hurts is the answer. They've been a lot of rumors, like Uncle Doug mentioned earlier, that we might take a quarterback at 6. I mean, there is like 5 of them now. They're saying they're going to go in the first round. They're saying we might take a quarterback. Personally, I wanted us to keep Wentz and take one of the receivers. I wanted us to take the kid out of LSU or the kid out of Alabama. Their names escape me at the moment.
Chase is LSU.
Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted one of the receivers. Hopefully one of them would have been there at 6. It doesn't matter now because Wentz is gone. But that's what I wanted to do. I just think this throws the team into a complete rebuild, and we're a mess. But I will say this. I'm going to root for Carson, which in turn will make me probably root a little bit for the Colts this year. Not that I'm not switching allegiance. I'm not that guy. I'm not still an Eagles fan, but I am a Carson Wentz fan. I've liked Carson Wentz since day one. When we traded up, the opposite of what Uncle Doug was, I was scared to death the Rams were going to take Wentz and we were going to get stuck with Goff. So when they took Goff and Wentz went to us, I was ecstatic. So I will root for Wentz this year. I did say this to a couple guys I was talking to the other day. A lot of these guys on ESPN and Fox are going to look real fucking stupid when Wentz goes out and wins Most Improved Player and is an MVP candidate this year, balling for the Colts. And they're all, Marcellus Wiley and what's the guy that argues with Stephen A. Smith?
Max
Kellerman, that fucking
Kellerman's an
idiot. Yeah. They're all going to look even dumber when Wentz is out there balling. Because I just want to remind people, I am a little biased, but everybody wants to point at the 2017 season where he should have won MVP and then he blew out his knee. In 18, he was playing really well before they ended his season. The Eagles pulled him off the field. And then in 2019, let's just think back. Just a little over a year ago, we were talking about Carson Wentz being the hottest quarterback in the NFL because he took the practice squad to the playoffs. They won 4 straight games at the end of the season where he threw, in the last 3 games, he threw 10 touchdowns and 0 interceptions and, beat the Cowboys twice to get into the playoffs when they have this loaded, talented roster and still can't get in the playoffs, but I digress. And then, yes, he played really bad this year. I'm not trying to act like he didn't. But for 2 years, he's played with this crap roster, partly because we didn't draft well the last couple of years and partly because of a myriad of injuries. I mean, you just mentioned Nelson earlier, but, probably one of the 2 of the 3 guys in the league we talk about as the best interior linemen in all of football are Nelson and Brooks. And Brooks has missed the last 2 years because he tore both Achilles, one, and then came back and tore the other one.
Yeah, just like his last healthy year, him and Nelson were ranked 1 and 2 on Football Reference or something as the 2 best guards in the NFL.
Right. And it just we've had so many injuries. He's been running for his life behind a terrible offensive line for 2 years. He's had nobody to throw the ball to. This year, even Ertz missed almost the entire season. His safety blanket, the guy, he throws the ball to a lot. So I think that took a toll on him. I think his relationships with the staff there took a toll on him. Plus, he finally got out of the Nick Foles drama. He was gone. It was over now. And they immediately bring in another quarterback. I just think over the course of all of those things, it was a bad deal for Carson Wentz in that situation. I think a change of scenery, going back with Frank Reich, a team that has pieces around him, I think he'll be fine.
Well, didn't you get a first-round receiver last year, and didn't he get hurt and miss the whole year too?
Not the whole year. We drafted Jalen Reagor in the first round last year. He got hurt in the first game of the season and missed he was out 6 weeks, and then he came back at the tail end of Carson's run, and then then Carson was benched and Jalen Hurts was there. But Reagor had a terrible rookie year, but I don't know how much of it's really on him. You had no training camp. In your first game, you get hurt, and it was like a broken thumb. Like it was so he couldn't even play. You can't catch with a broken thumb.
Well, he's a speed receiver, and you guys had a terrible offensive line, so he had
Right.
no.
Yeah,
way to
that's
get
all
downfield.
true. To push
Yeah.
the ball downfield.
You're right, exactly. And he didn't play that well when Hurts was there. But I mean, obviously Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb make me look stupid saying this, but you don't expect rookies to play overly well, especially receivers, when you don't get to play and you don't get preseason, you don't get camp, any of those things to help, learn your quarterback and your offense and all that stuff. I didn't expect him to play overly well, but it just made it look bad because Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb played so well.
Of course, those two had really dominant receivers to play with.
That's
True.
true.
I mean,
I was about to
instead of
say
trying to
Justin
do the
Jefferson had Adam Thielen, and then CeeDee Lamb had
Amari
not-
Cooper.
Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup too.
Right.
With him.
So I mean,
And you also
they
got
had a little different situation.
Kyle Rudolph with the Vikings too.
And they had a great running game.
Yeah, obviously you got Dalvin Cook too.
I mean, to be 100% straightforward, Carson Wentz got the shit beat out of him for a couple of years, played with terrible players around him. Everyone got hurt, and I think he just kind of said, fuck it. I mean, he was just done with it. I mean, that's just pretty about straightforward as I can say it. I mean, yeah. I think everyone needed a little bit of a change for the Eagles.
Well, I'm not a Colts fan or an Eagles fan. I mean, I like both teams are nice. I like both teams, but I too will be rooting for Carson Wentz because I did a lot of research on him when we drafted Goff, and I wanted Carson Wentz because I was impressed with a lot of things he did. So I really think the Colts are going to like having him, and at least the Eagles got something out of it. Hopefully, their leadership can turn this around quickly. If they're going to do total rebuild, then move the guys, get the draft picks, and jump into it. Don't drag it out and waste 2 or 3 years, and put you guys through that.
I agree with that. But let me ask you guys this. I'm asking this to the room so everybody can answer. But if you have a guy like Fletcher Cox or Brandon Graham who are lifelong Eagles, they're still producing, but they're in their 30s now. They're probably on the more downside of their career, getting ready to enter the downside of their career. Do you unload them for a rebuild, or do you let them retire as Eagles?
Unload them. Gotta unload them. Get what you can out of them because they're not going to be 100% playing with you after all this mess is going on anyway. So you get what you can out of them, and then you go from there.
With a lot of players, you can usually just ask them, do you want to remain an Eagle for life, or would you rather go try and win somewhere? That's what the Texans did with J.J. Watt. He told him, you guys are going to rebuild. I want to move on with my career while I'm still back into my prime. So you can go to Fletcher Cox and say, we're going to rebuild. We're not going to be good for 3 or 4 years. Do you want to remain an Eagle, or do you want us to work with you to send you somewhere else?
The other thing that might help the Eagles is they've won a ring already with the Eagles, so that might help the decision either way, saying they've got a ring with them, so say, okay, I felt like I've got my team that I've been with my whole career, I've got them a ring. Or you can say, I'm going to stay with you because I've got a ring. I'm going to try and teach these other guys how to win and all this stuff and keep them to lead the younger guys that you're going to get.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think communication with them is the important part. You need to talk to the guys and respect them. Obviously, they didn't listen to him with Carson Wentz, but they were also maybe were listening to Wentz, what Wentz wanted, maybe he was done. So I would say talk to them. If they want to stay an Eagle, let them retire. If they want to try to get a ring someplace else, then get what you can out of them. I wouldn't have just cut J.J. Watt for nothing. I would have worked with him to get him to where he wanted to go. He's owed that for what he's given the team. But it'd be nice if you get something back.
Right. I mean, JJ's not elite anymore, but he's still good. If you could have gotten a 4th-round pick out of that, I think it does wonders. I would have struggled to get nothing out of a great player too. I agree with that.
I think the big thing with the Texans was they're in cap hell, I think, and they saved like $17 million by getting rid of J.J. Watt.
They're also
So
in
it was-
PR hell right now.
That is true,
And
too.
this was
Yeah,
a good
for
PR
sure.
move.
Yeah, but yeah.
All right, so do we have any more thoughts on the Carson Wentz trade before we move on?
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think it's all been said.
All right, guys. Well, I think that was a good conversation. So let's briefly move over to Fernando Tatis Jr.'s 14-year, $340 million extension with the Padres. Let's just go around the room here, starting with Uncle Doug. What did you think when you first saw this?
I really like Fernando Tatis Jr. Great player. These long-term contracts, I'm not necessarily a big fan of. The big improvement on his contract over some of the others we've seen is he's only 22. So at the end of the contract, he's only going to be 36. He's not going to be completely done, unlike some of these other long contracts where these guys are getting into their 40s and they're not going to be worth any of the money that you're paying them at that point. So that part of it, I think San Diego, and I think San Diego's trying to be relevant. They've got two other big market teams close that have stars, and if they didn't make a splash, they're just going to be ignored for that much longer.
Ray?
I kind of get what they're doing, but signing somebody to that long of a contract is a high-risk maneuver. And you don't know what 14 years is going to bring you, and that is probably the stupidest thing they could have done. I mean, yeah, you got to throw your money on the table and be like, we want you and we want you here badly. But in the end of the day, you can't sign somebody to a 14-year deal because he could be broke down next year, and then what do you got? You ain't got shit on the team anymore, and you're paying him for the rest of his life.
Well, I mean, not only that, he does play a prime defensive position at shortstop. At 36, what is he going to be? Is he still going to be playing shortstop even?
Yeah.
Do you want a Derek Jeter out there at 38 years old, with a terrible, terrible radius?
That's true. Drew, how'd you feel, bud?
Well, didn't you say earlier, maybe this wasn't on air, but that he hasn't actually played a complete 162 season?
His rookie season, I believe. Here, I have it right here. Hold on just 1 second.
All right.
His rookie season, he played 84 games, and last year he played 59. So he's played 143 total games in his career.
See, well, obviously last year wasn't a full season, but the year before that, he barely played any games. He didn't play a whole year in the MLB, and we know how long that season is. I mean, you never know. He might get hurt 7 out of these next 14 years, and you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want him to. I'm not saying.
I mean, he's a pretty reckless player. He runs the bases, dives into bases, like you said, plays shortstop. That's high-risk injury. That's about as high-risk you get in baseball.
That's true.
I mean,
either center field or shortstop or catcher. I mean, that's your big
and he's
positions.
a crazy man on the base pass, so he's running, diving into people. I mean, he's really good, and he's really young, like Uncle Doug said, which is a lot smarter than some of his other deals. And these guys are 26, 27, or 31, like Albert Pujols or whatever. But I mean, you can sign him for a long time, but do 8 years. That's still a long time. That's a really long 14.
Okay, so here's my
Dear
question:
Lord.
If he gets $340 million, and he hasn't even entered arbitration yet, so therefore they bought his arbitration years, and he still got 340. Is that saying, if this would have happened 4 years from now after his arbitration was getting ready to end, that he'd have gotten like $500 million? Because we've been told for years, like Acuna signed what for 180, and everybody's like, well, that's because he has to go through his arbitration years, which means that I don't know what Tatis's arbitration will be his first year, but it'll probably be like $5 million. So instead of paying him 5, you're going to pay him 30. So fine. I'm not saying that players shouldn't get paid. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to sound anti-player here. That's really not what I'm trying to do. I'm really just trying to say, if he got $340 million before arbitration, what would he have gotten after arbitration?
I don't know.
I mean, or did the San Diego just not care?
Well, that's one of the things I was going to ask is, where's San Diego getting all the money?
I don't know.
Because they're paying him this huge salary.
Manny Machado.
They got Machado.
Yes.
They got these pitchers. They just got Snell and Darvish.
Didn't they have a couple decent pitchers, good pitchers last year too?
Yeah.
I think Alex said they signed Hosmer too.
I just saw this
Hosmer,
I
too.
just saw this earlier today. Their entire pitching staff, their 5 starters, make $38 million. Because Blake Snell goes straight in from Tampa, so obviously Tampa pays nobody. So he's on the cheap. But like you said, they are paying $340 to Tatis, $300 to Machado, and $150 to Hosmer.
So in 1 year, they're paying like 3 infielders, what, $80-90 million, and their whole pitching staff makes 38 combined.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
They better win really fast.
But, like,
But they're in the division with the
problem.
Dodgers.
Yeah, as what Drew said earlier, like the Dodgers are still a lot better than them. I feel like the Dodgers just got Trevor Bauer on top of winning the World Series.
You brought up Trevor Bauer because I wanted to bring this point up, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. I've been saying for 4 or 5 years now, Major League Baseball teams are stupid because I'm going to sign you for $14 million, like $30 million a year for 14 years. I mean, why not offer guys like 3-year deals at $50 million a year? Because I don't care about the $50 million in one season. It's that I'm going to be paying you 30 when you're 40 years old, like we've been talking about with these other guys. So when the Dodgers came to Bauer and said, we're going to give you $95 million in the first 2 years, and Bauer's like, hell yeah. I was like, duh.
But they only signed him for, 3 years, right?
Yeah, it's 3 years, and the last year's not guaranteed.
So, that's.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't want a guy for 14 years.
Right, because he's not probably going to be any good at the end.
Especially a pitcher. Pitchers don't pitch for 14 years, or at least not the same. So what I'm saying is, I think it's insane. I just listened to a podcast this morning where these guys were talking about how the Dodgers made the dumbest move in free agent history by signing Trevor Bauer to this contract. And I was like, why? He's like the best player in baseball, and really you're only paying you're paying him a shitload of money, but only for 2 years, not for 14.
And it's the Dodgers; they can afford it.
That they're in win now situation anyway. So.
Yeah, they've been to
Just
the World
keep
Series
winning.
4 straight years.
Yeah. And, a couple years, you can survive that mistake. But 14 years?
Yeah.
That cripples you.
Again, I'm not trying to say that Tatis is a mistake.
No.
I'm just saying, why not go in here and be like, hey, I'll give you $50 million a year, which is 20 more than you were going to make a year before, but only for a short period of time. I'm not going to give it to you for 12, 13, 14 years.
Well, to kind of help prove your point, according to analytics and stuff, Bryce Harper, who just signed a mega deal, 2 years ago, they said is already drastically worse on defense in the outfield, and he's still, he's still, 28, 29? But his defense has already gone down.
Right.
And
He leaves, Nationals are World Series champs.
Well,
Yeah, that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Bryce Harper. I think
Here we go.
I think we've talked about this in the past where I'm trying to remember who we brought up. But Patrick, I think we were talking about Patrick Mahomes and how he was getting the LeBron treatment where the media crowned him before he'd actually accomplished anything. Bryce Harper is that guy in baseball.
Yeah.
Only Mahomes and LeBron have pretty much lived up to it. Harper never did. Harper had one great season, and the rest of his career he's been mediocre.
Well, I think if someone can look it up if I'm wrong, but I think he made 2 or 3 All-Star games before ever eclipsing 60 RBIs in a season. I think he had like 20 home runs, 56 RBIs, and was like the leading vote getter in the All-Star game.
He won Rookie of the Year, and I was dumbfounded. I was like, how was he the Rookie of the Year? Like, what did he do? Like, his stats were, he was like 260 with like 18 home runs, and like he played the whole season.
Crazy part is he'll probably end up in the Hall of Fame, 1, due to popularity, and 2, he's going to play for 23 years and compile a large amount of stats, and he's going to be remembered as this great player when he really wasn't.
So, I mean, I agree with you. Bryce Harper's a sore subject for me. For some reason, though. But let's move on from Bryce Harper. Here's my next question. If you're the White Sox, who traded Fernando Tatis Jr. to the Padres, how do you feel today? Or if you're a White Sox fan, how do you feel today?
I think I feel pretty good. I don't have to pay that big ass contract.
Well, don't they have a good shortstop now?
Do they?
I'm trying to think of his name. It's leaving me at the moment. But I think he plays shortstop, the guy I'm thinking of.
You talking about Mikado?
No.
Because he plays second.
Drew, get on the stats.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
going.
I can see him. He's like a skinny, athletic black guy. I think he started hitting a decent amount of home runs the past year or two.
Tim Anderson.
Tim Anderson.
You're right. It is Tim
Yeah.
Anderson. They do have a good shortstop.
Tim
You're right.
Anderson.
I forgot about Tim Anderson. I feel dumb now.
So
Sorry.
that helps, I think.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, Tatis is one of the best up and coming players in the league. So I mean, there's gonna be a little regret there probably.
Well, I mean, I guess in all reality, if he was still with the White Sox, they don't have to have this contract. They could just have his control for the next 5 years, and pay him chump change.
Like the Padres should have.
I mean, so yeah, I mean, now maybe they lose him at the end of that, but if you put him and Anderson and Abreu and Mikado all together, maybe they do something.
That's a deadly lineup.
Well, do you think maybe, this is just a thought, that baseball is trying to stay relevant?
Yes.
I mean, they've seen the NFL blew by them years ago. Now the NBA's blowing by them. And Major League Baseball is really struggling to stay relevant, keep the young people interested. There's a lot of struggle out there for baseball, and maybe this is part of it. Maybe they're throwing money at it to try to find some stars that they can market.
Well, sorry.
No, I was going to say, they've been telling us that for years. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but they've been telling us that baseball's not relevant anymore, baseball's not popular anymore, so on and so forth. If that's the case, where the hell is all this money coming from?
That's what I would like to know, where the money is coming from.
Not only that, but last year there was no fans, so they got no ticket revenue.
Yeah.
And they're still signing $300 million contracts.
Well, the owners admitted that they were losing money every game. It was millions of dollars they were losing every single game. They were just trying to minimize it. The argument back and forth between the players and the owners was how much of a loss the owners was going to take.
Yeah.
And so they are losing a lot of money. There's got to be a money stream someplace. I'm guessing it's TV rights, but
Those TV deals are gigantic. They were just, I can't remember the numbers, so I'm not going to try and guess. But somebody was talking about the Dodgers TV deal the other day, and it's astronomical.
well, and that's how the Angels gave Pujols the huge contract when he left St. Louis, was they had just signed a new cable TV exclusive deal for them to be on all the time, and they got huge money for it.
But see, it's crazy about the TV rights right now because the only people that's got it is like AT&T streaming service, and everybody else is still trying to dig in for a contract. Like Hulu's out, Sling TV doesn't have a contract, so it's all like one streaming service. So I don't really know how that works, but there's only one streaming service playing like Fox Sports games anywhere, and that's like AT&T.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know a ton about that stuff. I really don't. So I don't even want to speak on it because I'll sound stupid. But I guess my point is, I don't know where if baseball's failing, why are they continuing to sign these huge contracts? But last year the NBA lost a boatload of money. So I mean, is it just a baseball thing or was it a sports thing?
Well, I think it's a COVID thing.
Well,
You know, with all
point,
that, I mean, they're all going to lose money. But I mean, baseball had the big fight with the players and the owners about how much the salary and all that other stuff. But I'm like you, I don't understand where all the money's coming from. And like Ray said, Fox Sports Midwest. The reason I got that on our satellite deal was I wanted to watch the Cardinals and be able to watch every game.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been on there for like a year and a half. They're still arguing over whether Fox Sports Midwest can be on Dish or not. You know.
And now they've rebranded to Bally's, which is in Las Vegas. So Bally's has bought Fox Sports, and they're calling themselves Bally's Sportsnet or whatever.
Well, here was my problem that was pissing me off, and I'm not even a Cardinals fan. I'm just a baseball fan who, in his cable package, got Fox Sports Midwest. So I was like, well, on days I don't have anything else to do, I'm going to watch the Cardinal game. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting blacked out because they didn't sell out. And I'm like, hold on. I live 2 hours away. Like, I shouldn't be in your blackout market. I'm not in St. Louis. And baseball, what are you doing? They keep saying you're losing fans. Don't let me not allow me to watch your games.
Yeah, you want me to be a fan? Let me watch the game.
Right. And then on top of it, baseball just banned all streaming of their highlights.
What?
So you're telling me that you can't get people excited about your game. So when some crazy athlete runs the ball down in the outfield and makes a crazy play, it is against your bylaws for it to be streamed anywhere. So if I post a highlight on Twitter, they can sue me.
I mean, Drew knows way more about those things than I do, Twitter and all that stuff. But he always watches that stuff. I
Right.
mean, how are you going to get the young
I can watch
fans-
my own highlights when I play.
Right, yeah.
I can
I
pull
mean-
it up like in 30 seconds for you guys.
How can you expect to get those teenagers, early 20s, if they can't stream it? That's how they get half their information.
Within a minute or two of a crazy dunk in the NBA, the highlights are all over social media.
Anthony
The other night-
Edwards the other night
yeah,
for the Timberwolves.
Exactly,
It was like
exactly the one I was gonna
like a
bring up.
minute later. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And
Right. But baseball has banned that. Talk about stupidity. Like, how are you going to, essentially, you're not allowing young fans to do the thing they like doing the most. It's asinine to me why you would do that. Plus, I know maybe some National League guys like you would disagree with me, but last year with the COVID stuff, they had the universal DH. Offense is up. All these things. And then this year, the Players Association's like, no, we don't want that back. Get rid of it. Hey, guys, nobody wants to watch a pitcher hit. I hate to tell you. They all suck. Every single one of them. We talk about, this pitcher's really, really good. He batted 160 last year. He hit 2 home runs. Like, oh, yeah, I'm real excited to watch him bunt and pop out. Like, literally, try and bunt and pop out. I'm really excited about that. So, we're really... What I'm saying, I guess, here is baseball just repeatedly shooting themselves in the foot. Stupid contracts, stupid rules, getting rid of offense. Now they're saying that starting next year they're getting rid of the juice balls, which the juice balls have bothered me for a little while as a fan of baseball, but you're talking about getting rid of offense again. I don't know.
Yeah, it's baseball's making some very strange decisions, and it doesn't seem like they've got some smart marketing people.
I'm a guy that I would guess I would classify myself as a baseball purist. I like baseball, and I don't like a lot of the new rules. I was pissed off when they got rid of run over the catcher. I was pissed off when they got rid of taking out the second baseman. And one of my all-time favorite players, Dustin Pedroia, had his career ended by a slide at second base by Manny Machado, punk-ass bitch. And but those are part of baseball. Now, do I want careers ended? No. Manny Machado's foot was 2 feet in the air and, spiked him in the knee and bent his knee backwards. No, that's not taking a guy out at second base. That's, doing something stupid. But if the catcher is standing in front of home plate and the ball's coming in, I should be able to run him over. Just because Buster Posey got hurt doesn't mean we should make rules for it.
So what do they do then?
You're required to slide or to get around the catcher without leaving the base path. It's the most asinine thing because the first time a good player, like say Mike Trout, is trying to avoid a catcher who's standing in the way, tears his ACL because he's making a stupid move by running full speed, trying to avoid a catcher, are we going to have a rule change for that too?
Probably, especially if it's a big name like Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Tatis Jr., someone like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I could talk about this for a long time. I don't want to waste everybody's time, but baseball's making a lot of really stupid decisions right now, and I don't get it. And I love
agree.
baseball.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure what they're doing.
Does anybody else have anything else to add?
I just want to say that one of my favorite parts of Major League 2 was when the catcher on the White Sox ran over that country catcher on Cleveland and said, "Don't step on the tracks when the train's coming through."
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of the game. So I don't understand. I mean, yeah, injuries happen, but you can't stop everything.
I agree. And that's an exciting play.
Yeah, it really is. It's a make or break run there.
And it doesn't happen a ton. We make it sound like it happens every game. What does it happen? 10, 15 times a season?
Yeah.
Like, anyway. So, unless somebody else has anything else to add, I'm going to close shop here on today. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us for our emergency episode. We discussed Carson Wentz and the Colts and Fernando Tatis Jr., and we appreciate your listening. We'll catch you Thursday with our next episode. Talk to you later.